What's up, everybody? It's me again, and it's time to lean in, bitch. There are three people on the screen. Y'all know I love to have guests because that's the purpose of the lean. We have two very special, well, one child, because y'all know Jamie. I don't know what side he on for y'all, but for me, y'all know Jamie. But we have a very special person here today, Antonio, who is a really good friend of mine from Nashville. And if you didn't know, Antonio used to actually proofread my blogs when I was typing all this shit out. So welcome to the lane, Antonio. It's good to have you. How are you doing?
What's up? I'm good. You?
I'm good. And I guess we can say hey to Jamie again too, chat, because Jamie do be coming back. So welcome
I
back,
stay.
Jamie.
I'm a mainstay at this point.
At this point, you are definitely a peach holder of the lean. So we are here to talk about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. We did not do last week, but we're here today to do part one and part two because this has been like a really good season and reunion has been like on 10. And I'm just gonna start by saying, because I'll get y'all opinions too. These girls, like I talked to my friend today, these girls were like built for this platform. Like from beginning of the season to the finale, like they were ready. It's like it was in their blood. And so with that, like, what were your initial thoughts, starting with you, Jamie, on this reunion part one, or just in general, what we've seen thus far?
I know the last recap that you and I did, we were expressing some concern that we didn't know how they were going to have enough
Right.
to talk about for 3 reunions. Baby, part one and two, and I echo what you say. It's like these women know what they're doing. These women were built for it. And I think throughout the entire season and even in the reunion, everyone has played their part so well. Like nobody's clamoring for screen time. Nobody's trying to one up the other. Nobody's, well, Jenny's, but the other women,
I
you
don't know.
can
She
see
really ain't, but
that
go ahead.
they know their part. They have genuine friendships, and so I think when you're seeing these little alliances or genuine friendships off to the side, I think that really has only helped to further some of the drama that has kind of happened. You know, it's Heather and Whitney who's got each other's backs through this entire season and haven't
Yeah.
faltered. It's been Lisa and Meredith. Mary and her cousin housekeeper who she doesn't know. Like everybody has their little relationships, and it's been really, really, really great to watch so far.
Yeah.
Okay. Antonio.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think two things are making them very successful. One is that everyone is interesting in their own way. Everyone has a story to tell. And two, they've been a lot more honest than typically what we see as far as the housewives, as in regards to answering questions and handling those under pressure segments, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I think those two things really show that when whomever did the casting for them did a really good job at picking each and every one. And also another thing, going back to one of Jamie's points, what makes them successful and what has made other Housewives franchises successful in the past, in my point of view, is having people that have a history, because there's something there. They're not just putting a group of people together and hoping that it works. They
Mm-hmm.
actually have a history, they have a story,
Mm-hmm.
they have some type of relevance with one another. So I think that's been a major point in the success that the show has been so far.
Okay. No, I agree. I agree on both. I'm just so like surprised because I've never like watched a show and experienced a cast where I just don't know who to love. I always know who to hate, but I'm just like, well, shit. This week I love her. And I'm like, well, I love her too. And it's just like it's so different and refreshing. I don't know because of the panty we in, but I think they just have did a really good job. And so to get into the reunion now, honestly, I really thought that this reunion was gonna be very hard for Jen. I came into this like, oh my god, they're gonna wear her out. She gonna break down. She gonna do stuff like that. But I can honestly say her segments and her comebacks and everything at her has been very light. You know, they started out in this in part one. They were talking about just her shade and her Twitter fingers, and clearly she has Twitter fingers. If you have been watching the show and going to her tweets, she is heavily active on Twitter. And so, she
She is.
made some comments about Brooks, about I think that was on the show about the clothing line, but she said like about the what is that about him being white privileged and just had never seen a vagina. So like Meredith obviously doesn't take this well. Brooks already don't like
Mm-mm.
her, don't like Jen. So like to this, what is your thoughts on just her Twitter fingers and just how she at the reunion? I feel like she backpedaled. You know, I hate when someone
Oh yeah.
is not forthcoming with what
I
they
do.
mean. They want to be literal and say, "Oh, I didn't say that, but you meant this." And so, to this, like, what were your thoughts? Start with you, Tonio.
Yeah, she definitely came at Brooks on Twitter. Her Twitter fingers are bad. I compare it to some of the other housewives and some of the other franchises, but I 100% agree when you are on this platform and you go on Twitter once the show is going and you are having those episodes where you are going in. When it comes to the reunion, you got to own it and keep it moving. Yes, I said it. Yes, I meant it. And that's what it is. You either gonna take it or you gonna leave it. I will say this: Jen was probably my least favorite going into the reunion, but after episode 2, I started to like her just a bit more. Um, but yeah, I going back to my point, she needs to. If you're gonna say it, then you need to own it when it comes time to own it. That's it.
Jamie.
Absolutely. I think the frustrating thing with me for this is Jen has been one of the main driving forces for a bunch of the drama throughout the
Mm-hmm.
season,
Yeah,
on camera and off camera.
yeah,
And she's got this, my dick's so big, I'm going to go toe to toe with anybody and I'm going to stand in it. And the thing that has frustrated me at this reunion is it's very obvious that she saw herself and either she did not like what she saw,
Yeah.
her husband did not like what he saw, or she's getting severe backlash on Twitter because we all know that she is. So that's understandable. If you're going to come to a reunion and backpedal and say, then say it. Say, you know what? I came off horribly this season. I was horrified when I saw this. That is not what I want to represent for my kids. That is not, I'd said all of this thing, and then own that and try to make amends.
right.
Everything in the reunion was an excuse. Oh, well, you shouldn't have told me that. It's your fault that I threw the drink. Well, I didn't say that about Brooks. You asked me to spend the night, so you couldn't have been that mad. It's everything was I'm justified in my reaction, and it's everybody else's fault, but Jen Shaw's. And it's frustrating to watch somebody like that
Yeah,
who doesn't take ownership of what they do and doesn't take accountability, but then still tries to make themselves look like the good guy as if the rest of America didn't see the bullshit you were on the entire season.
I
yeah,
agree. I want to add to that she could have had a moment of I didn't like what I saw because the tweets that she was tweeting, none of that, like I could see if she was watching, if we were watching the show together and you go to her page, you would see that everything she did on the show, she stood behind it. I think that she
Mm-hmm.
knew at this reunion, I need to come correct because they're going to get me. Period. They're going to
yeah,
get me at this point. I'm already, after the finale, episode or whatever when they isolated her because basically she was the one out in. I think that was her moment to kind of let me get it together because at the reunion she was quiet. She was very quiet.
she was.
Did y'all catch the questions that they asked her about what she did and why she needed a team and basically revealed that her husband is not the head coach? So they're like, well, he ain't the head coach. Why he ain't at home with you?
Why he ain't at home? Yeah, yeah. That was good because I was like, okay, I thought he was the head coach. He was the
Honey, I thought
HNIC.
he
He
was
was
over
that dude that's in
NFL.
charge of the girls.
I thought he was over NFL. I thought he was on knees, kneeling and stuff. I was like, what?
No,
He
he
listen.
he the ball boy. He the ball boy. He
He
the
got to
guy
be
to
the
pick
water
up the
boy.
towels.
Must be the water boy. I was
You
confused.
know what? She's scared, and I think that's probably why she backed down. There is something more going on with the state of that. I mean, even whenever she broke down and was crying about her dad and stuff and feeling a certain way, and Andy was kind of prodding, like, what was that situation then like with your husband? There is something more going on there that she's afraid to come out. And I
I
completely
agree.
understand that. But then when contrasted, Antonio, you mentioned that this is probably one of the most open casts. Whitney has been very open about her marriage to that older man.
Oh yeah.
Heather has been extremely open about her divorce and where she is now.
Well,
We saw Meredith lay her marriage in front of the cameras and be honest and say, we are not in a good place and we are fighting to get back to where we're at. So it's frustrating when we
Right.
have these. I mean, hell, even Mary has opened up her home for fucking public scrutiny. And Jen is
Yeah.
just like, well, he's away on business, so he couldn't go, and it makes me sad.
Well, see, that's
And you
what he
could
was
tell
trying to
that
get
she
out.
doesn't want.
That's what Andy was
Yeah,
trying to
and
get
you
because
could tell
Andy
she
was
does not want to talk about it.
because like he said, your husband doesn't seem like somebody that is hard to communicate with. You know, if this was like
Mm-mm.
Ralph, you know, Drew's husband, or these husbands that we see that don't really listen to their wives,
Right.
or you know, one ear in and out the other type of husbands, then yeah. But her husband always just has, you know, when he's there and not in FaceTime, he has her or she has his undivided attention. So
Not
I was
another FaceTime relationship.
Okay. He
listen.
very the man that live in her phone.
It's a lot of those on Bravo, child. Listen.
There's a lot of them.
I don't want to. Yeah, I'm trying to get cured on this show one day, so let me be quiet. And then I like how so they touched a little bit on Jen and Heather's relationship. Heather, you know, Heather takes up for Jen, but they asked the question, and you know, like I said, Andy be writing these questions. I don't know who Sheila from Timbuktu, California. I'd be like, who lives there and who has this name?
Right.
He said Brenda. When he said Brenda, I said, oh, ain't no Brenda watching Bravo. I'm
Ain't no
sorry,
Brenda. Ain't no
ain't no
Brenda.
Right.
Brenda.
I agree.
But he said, he was like, the question it took me out. He said, "Did you ever get an apology when she pushed you when she was only trying to help your drunk ass get home?" And so Heather, you know, was just like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And Jen apologized. Now, when Jen apologized, Andy was like, "Really, Jen?" So like her and this apology thing, obviously, this is where Mary inserted herself a little because Mary honestly was on the side
She did.
giving it to Jen and Lisa. She
She
was
was.
wearing them
She
out,
was.
but this is one of the first times because basically, and what Mary said was, "How are you so kind? How can you be a friend to somebody that's not really a friend to you?" So, like, what's your thought
Hmm.
on Jen, Heather, and then the added Mary banter and that segment? Starting
I
with,
think
go ahead. Yes,
I
go
am
ahead.
enjoying. I'm enjoying that Heather is sticking to her guns on it and holding Jen accountable for shit. She sticks up for her. Obviously, she loves her,
Yeah.
but you can tell that watching the show back and maybe seeing how Jen has treated her from a different lens, it's pissed her off and it's hurt her. So I'm
Yeah.
happy that she's holding Jen accountable and sticking up for herself. I mean, Mary's only saying what the rest of us are saying. Like,
Yeah.
if we had a friend like that in real life, like, girl, I'm not fighting for a friendship that's that toxic or
Yeah.
from somebody that couldn't care less about me. I mean, Jen was more concerned that Meredith asked her not to come over than she was about her best friend Heather being upset with anything that she did. But Mary was only there for 4 episodes, so she's watching everything unfold like the rest of us were. She wasn't there for any of it, so of course she has opinions.
That's true.
Mary is the MVP of sidelines, like, and because she comes right in at the right moment, and she makes her little digs, and like she just keeps it moving. In regards to Heather and Jen, it reminds me of two friends that we've seen on the city that I reside in. Whereas it seemed like one was so far up the other one's ass the whole season, and then it's like they watched it back, or maybe someone got in their ear and was like, "How could you let this person treat you this way?" And blah blah blah. That's not your real friend. But
Yeah.
then now Heather at the reunion has something to prove. I need to show these people that I can speak up, or I am strong. So that's where I'm coming from with that. I do still think that it's Heather is looking for a lot of coddling, and she wants, like, you're my friend, you shouldn't be friend with anybody else. If they don't want to be friends with me, you're my friend, you should only be friends with me. So I'm still kind of side eyeing her a little bit, but I do appreciate the fact that she really stepped up at the reunion, even though it took what, damn near over a year or whenever they stopped filming for her to do it. I appreciate the fact that she actually did step up and she has something to say, and she's attempting to hold Jen accountable for the bullshit that Jen did throughout the whole season, especially that whole pushing or hitting or whatever. We would really have to have a long, long conversation about that.
We want
if
to have
I
a
was her friend.
conversation because I'm gonna hit you back, or I'm just going to remove myself from it, and I'm gonna allow you to come back to me in the way that Jen has not. I'm gonna say I
Exactly.
don't
Yeah.
think that Heather, her personality, like I said, it's a character flaw to me. Like you cannot sit here and be that naive and that like ill-minded to where you cannot see that someone does. Not saying Jen is not a good friend to her, but she's not a great friend to her. You know,
Yeah.
she sees a weakness in Heather and she plays off of it. It's kind of like the pretty friend and the ugly friend. Ugly friend just knows like, okay, I love you know, and that's I'm not saying she's ugly, but in a
No, I
way,
get it.
Heather is not confident enough to where she's very
Hmm.
fragile, and so with Jen, people like Jen, you just kind of cling to them because they're the strength. There's a sense of strength or that they have that you don't, and so I think honestly, and we're gonna
I
the
agree.
next subject we're gonna go into that's Heather's problem. Um, and then so we talked about Mary's side comments and side jabs. Now somebody who ain't good at side jabs, who I still love to death, is Lisa. Now Lisa Lisa, and I think Mary even said, like, she was like, girl, like, stop getting involved. It has had nothing to do with you. Like, I love Lisa, but Lisa and defending Jen is what gets her in so much trouble. If she didn't defend Jen
Yeah.
as much sometimes, because, like, it's to the point to where it's worse than Heather, in my opinion. She defends Jen, like, worse. Heather is just like,
Yeah.
she can at least be like, Lisa, no, it ain't happening. So, in this reunion, this is where the first little piece of the banter between Lisa, Heather, and Lisa and the bad weather team over there. Lisa, Heather, what's it called? Whitney and bad weather. I can't even say it.
That that was so
She
stupid.
said Whitney had the bad weather tornado. I was like,
Goes up and spins and come down and it's a mess. Or
that's what it
something she
was.
said. It was crazy.
I got my life. I'm sorry. But yeah, so this is the first time they go back and forth. Now we know Heather and Lisa. I'm sorry, Heather and Whitney have been at odds with Lisa since the beginning. It has been that way. Lisa just really don't see it for him. In my opinion, I don't know why she just don't stick to that and say
At
that.
all.
But there's a part of her I feel like that Well, I'm gonna get into that too. So go ahead and give me your thoughts, Tonio, on just the Lisa and Whitney and Heather situation because basically they're saying that she's mean. She's a mean girl and nobody likes her.
Yeah, they saying that she's a mean girl, she's condescending, and that
Yeah,
she's in a way pretty much like you're stuck up, like you think you're better
better. Yeah,
than us. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I do just think that it's Lisa's personality to kind of carry herself in a certain way. Um, I don't think it's a situation where, but even though she did call Whitney trash, but I don't think it's a situation where she thinks she's better than them. I just think she's like, I want more for myself. Is she just a little bit like self-absorbed? Maybe a little bit, but I can't say that I actually think that there's anything wrong with it. Because if
yeah.
you don't love yourself, who the hell gonna love you? So and then with her and Heather, it's like Heather wants to be Lisa's friend so badly
So bad.
that she could like spit. Like she wants to be her friend so badly, she is willing to like chop off her damn left foot to be Lisa's friend. And I don't get why she feels the need for this acceptance from Lisa, or she feels the need that Lisa needs to like open arms to her. Because I think that as much as Lisa is a boss, Heather is also. So I guess I don't understand where that lack of confidence or that lack of needing to feel be friends with her is coming from. That's kind of confusing to me.
Okay.
No, I definitely feel that. For me, for Heather, and you and I have kind of talked about this a little bit, Cortez. Heather is on this journey of self discovery to figure out what kind of woman she wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
When she knew Lisa back in college, I really feel that she probably was not the popular girl. She probably wasn't as confident as Lisa is. Lisa very much reminds me of Bethany Frankel from New York in the fact that they are very loud, abrasive personalities that you either love or you either hate. And there really is no apologies in that. It is,
Okay.
this is me. I don't really have time to coddle anybody. Sometimes I'm gonna look like a bitch. I'm gonna look like an asshole. But at the end of the day, like I just don't have time to backtrack. And I think she's very much a fire sign.
Mm-hmm.
And Whitney particular is just kind of a young, whichever way it goes, she doesn't really know what's going on, and I think that bothers Lisa a lot. Like you said, she doesn't see it for her. She just
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't got to be friends with you. But I
Right.
think for Heather, Heather was really hurt that Lisa doesn't remember her. And that Lisa said she was the good time girl, which I don't believe Lisa, because seeing Heather, Heather was not that girl back in college at all. Heather may be that girl now, lifting up her shirt and flashing people now. She wasn't that in college. I think Heather really just is. Whenever she fights with these women, I think she's trying to prove to herself that
Yeah.
she is on par with these ladies. It's a
She is
confidence
worthy.
issue.
Yeah.
She's where, and she is, and I want her. I'm seeing a little bit of that because the more
Mm-hmm.
that Lisa kind of attacks her, like what she say in episode 1, this is just my personality. I'm from New
Right.
York, and Heather said you've been living in Salt Lake City for 20 years. So
Lisa said,
she's
I've been
getting
back and
there.
forth.
You've been in Vegas more than you've been in New York. Heather will get there. I really think Heather will get there. I think Whitney is one of those people that can be nasty nice. It's very Phaedra. Like I love her to death, but when she knows that she is getting under your skin, like she is with Lisa, she knows she gets under Lisa's skin. So she's digging at this point. She's
I
digging your and I
so
think I think she enjoys it.
so with Lisa, like, and I like how Meredith jumped when she jumped in, and she was just like, it's just kind of something that I understand. You guys have the same dynamic. I have a million friends as a person, and I have some
Yeah.
friends that people just don't understand, but I understand them. And so when they joke with me, this is like when you come in, you want to read the room. You can't joke with everybody. You can't. So I think that that explains it to me. Lisa, she means no harm, but for people like Whitney and Heather, she has to kind of work on that. But at the same time, I don't think Heather and Whitney should be so damn sensitive either, because it's like they're really not those sweet girls that they really want to be. They put on that, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I love Whitney, but Whitney is very much so a victim. She will go into that victim space and act like, I don't know how this happened. And like, girl, you how this happened. So honestly, as a person, like, I'm a very strong person myself. I don't like people like that. I don't like naive people. I like people to be, I can hang with them, but am I gonna make them part of my close circle? Probably not, because that's I don't like that type of stuff. I like real people because I'm very real, and sometimes
Right.
I'm very blunt. So I get Lisa on that aspect, but I do think
Yes,
she
you
can
are.
work on it. I am. I'm gonna say it. So, you know.
Yes.
And I think the thing that really pisses Lisa off is she knows that Heather and Whitney are not stupid women.
They're
She
not.
knows that they are
Yeah.
smart, intelligent, driven women. And I think it
Yeah.
drives her crazy
Yeah.
that they're on this constant, like, well, you're
Right.
mean to me. You're mean. And she's
Hmm.
like, I don't give a fuck if I'm mean. Like, you built a whole company.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
you're like, why are we even talking about this?
Yeah.
And the more
But
that,
I,
oh,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go
no,
ahead. I
go
didn't
ahead.
mean to interrupt. I was
No,
gonna say the
go
more
ahead.
that Lisa unravels, the more Heather and Whitney like keep
They
Oh,
like
keep
punching
playing
and
it.
digging.
They keep playing. That's how they
yeah.
get
Yes.
into it. They get
Because
into it because they doing
Heather's
it.
dick has gotten so big.
Yeah. She's
Heather is, yeah, Heather is like, oh, Jen thought she was the HBIC.
very much so.
Let's see, step up to the plate. But yeah, it's like, especially when it was supposed to be a commercial break, but they kept filming and they actually
Mm.
showed it as
We're
part
gonna
of
get
the
to that. We're gonna
the
get to that. We're gonna get
reunion.
to that. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to
Okay,
that.
okay,
So okay,
okay,
so
okay,
before,
okay, okay,
we're actually at the end of part one. We're gonna get to that too, because a lot of this stuff you can talk about it
okay.
cross, but I want to stay on the same outline. So
I get it.
one thing I was shocked that I was very surprised that Lisa and Mary would have they back and forth. Now at this point, I don't think Mary really has any friends. Maybe Meredith in this group, but Mary and Lisa.
Maybe Whitney.
No, because she called her the Barbie, and I feel like it was shade. She was
She
calling her,
did call her the
she was
Barbie.
calling her slow. So I don't. I'm like, oh shit, like she did. She called her Barbie, and then Heather was like,
She did.
she's a beautiful Barbie. I'm like, girl, shut up. Like That was the, and I think that's what was bothering.
I want a friend that rides for me like Heather. Heather is a
Yes,
good friend because she will ride for you.
I think what was bothering Mary was that every time Mary would say something to Jen or to Heather, especially Jen, Lisa would intersect and say something. And
Mm,
so they
yeah.
had a back and forth. That's when she was just like, don't talk about, she was like, what she said, I make you feel less than. And she said that she felt like the folks in her church to make them feel less than. Now, I remember the episode. It was what I'm thinking about is when she told
Yes.
them, what she said, it was like energy. What she tell them people? The hair, get a haircut or something like that. It was something she told one
You
of
know, she
them.
saw one man, he was like fat or something.
Yes, losing weight was something about being,
The
yes.
man that was
So,
playing like the guitar, and she told the other one, "You look healthy," because he's like a bigger guy. He was
Hmm.
playing the drums. So yeah,
but I was just surprised to see
But
them. Go
who
ahead.
who doesn't know a first lady or a pastor that does that? I
Yeah, I
grew
mean,
up in
she's just,
church,
that's
and
her people. It's a
all of the
small
people in
church.
leadership talk like that to people.
It's a small
Very much
church,
that.
right? So they have a very family bond. So I mean, why not? I mean, but I'm gonna tell you, Lisa, we're gonna move to the next part. But Lisa, when she said you want something that you're not gonna get, I was like, oh, okay, all right, that's not new. She was
hmm,
Okay.
really unraveling. She was really, and that's why, like, honestly, she owned part one. I don't care. The reunion, she put it on her back and she carried it. Even when it wasn't about
she
her,
did.
she made sure it became about her, and it did. Whether she got red, whether she whatever,
Yeah,
I just live for it. So yeah, she got it. The second about her crying about her kids, I didn't understand it. They were trying to make it seem like she was not around for her family, but I do feel like her husband probably thinks that way, but the kids, I don't know. They seem a little weird. I don't know. What y'all thought about that?
The thing that bothered me about that, before we go into the next part, the thing that confused me about that is she crying about anybody who knows me knows I'm a good mother and you don't talk about my kids. And yet, not a peep whenever Jen is talking about Meredith's kid.
yeah,
Like, she didn't stick up. Like, if I'm your, and I get it, her and Meredith have been friends for a decade, and I'm sure that they probably had a real good conversation
Yeah.
side of it. But there was no mention of, this is wrong. You can't be talking about, like, he's 18 or 19 years old, but that's her damn son. And even, I mean, Meredith addressed it and said, like, you're not going to talk about my children in the
yeah.
story. Like, it's just not going to happen. Because Meredith is so fucking classy. Like, she ain't never going to get up and scream at nobody. But that just struck me. I'm like, you're sitting here crying about a non-issue that your kids, but
Yeah.
your best friend that you're going so hard this whole reunion for, literally is talking about your other best friend's son like he's, an annoyance. You ain't going
Yeah,
to address that?
yeah.
I agree. I definitely agree. But I
I
mean,
do as well.
he what's his name? Andy was kind of surprised that she was crying. I was like, okay. I mean, I guess she does. I will say this reunion in this, I saw her differently. I feel like in the show she was holding back, but I feel like she was getting very
I do
upset
Oh,
too.
yeah.
because she was very put together in the show, and on the reunion she's like she's falling apart in my eyes. And so that brings us to part two. Now, part two is when we finally talk about the hospital gate, child. And Mary versus Jen. That really was Mary's main storyline. I feel like because if you didn't know, like she wasn't originally part of the cast. She was in and out. So like a lot of the filming, I believe it was two different production companies actually, and so she wasn't in a lot of the filming for that reason. But she also chose not to attend the trip, so her stuff was limited. But Mary versus Jen. Basically, Jen says that there's no way she could have smelled like a hospital because she hadn't been to the hospital that day. But in the episode, I thought she said she had just left seeing her
Yeah.
aunt. I mean, go ahead, Antonio. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't. But to think back to the episode, I don't. It would have been good to maybe she did say at that time and it was edited out, but I don't recall her saying that she just left the hospital. She just said she just left from seeing her aunt, and we all know it. Even if
Oh,
whether
that's true.
no
Yeah,
matter where you're going, if it's going to some type of facility,
yeah,
like whether it be a nursing home or a resting home or something like that, they all do have a distinct smell.
yeah.
So I just every time Mary said I smell hospital, like I just could not
Yeah,
help from laughing
because
because that
that's
shit was
that's
funny as
true.
hell.
It's a real smell. Like it's not even.
It is.
It is.
It's very much that. And she knew what she was doing. Like, Mary knows.
Mary knows
She
how to
knew.
shake the table.
Yeah.
She gives that church shade. Like she'll give it a real quick little under. We all grew up with it, so we know what it is.
Yeah.
It Jen to me, I'm looking at her when she's saying I never went there. I'm like, girl, the whole episode 1 through 5 was contingent on you visiting your aunt
Yeah.
who had just, had her legs amputated. You ran with it. You're screaming about it. My aunt's in the hospital. So if you weren't in the hospital, why would you be upset that Mary said it smelled like hospital? If you
Yeah.
were never
Yeah.
went to the hospital, that wouldn't have been even an issue for you. So what did you make this whole big fucking 13 episode ordeal about? So,
Right.
Well,
girl, Jen
she
Shaw full of
says,
lies.
I mean, so she was hung on an apology, in which Mary apologized that day. They one thing
Like
about
four times.
one thing about this reunion, they have been going with the flashbacks, and they have been on
Yeah.
point with every situation. And she literally was just like, "You want me to apologize again?" And then Jen was like, "Well, it wasn't sincere." She was like, "It wasn't sincere, and I only accepted it because it was Meredith's birthday." And I'm like, Jen, what kind of? At this point, Jen is not making. I'm glad she's not getting all crazy as she would normally be, but she's just not making sense to me with that.
Yeah.
And I just lost like where it was going on. But this obviously transitioned into another part of that beef, which was the not wanting to go into the convenience store because of seeing a black man. Now, I understood what she was saying, even back then. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I go to the convenience store, but I think Meredith actually explained it better. She was saying seeing someone
Hmm.
that's sketchy. But Jen, like me, you talked about Jamie, tried to make it a black thing because in Jen's head, she is blacker than Mary, and me, probably me too. So I mean, you,
And me.
right? So at this point, like, what were your thoughts on that? On how they tried to spin that? Go ahead, Jamie.
I mean, I've said this before. It's what sitting here. What I really like about the flashbacks is she said, "Mary, you admitted that you said it. You admitted that you said it." And the flashbacks showed Mary not admitting that she said that. What I wanted Mary to say was, "Sis, I am a woman. If I'm at a convenience store by myself and there's a group of men hanging out front, I
Yeah.
don't feel comfortable getting up and walking through a group of men. Has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with black or white." So that was a non-issue, and then everything else that was discussed afterwards made it an issue.
Yeah,
Like
definitely
Mary
an
just
issue.
couldn't be satisfied to leave it as it was, and then she just dug herself into a deeper fucking hole.
Right.
That I'm like, girl,
About you
stop
talking
talking,
about the
stop.
liking black men, light skin or whatever.
It just
Okay,
it went
Antonio,
way
go
off. I'm
ahead,
like,
go
girl,
go with
stop
your thoughts
talking.
on that. Go with your thoughts on the black light skin thing. Go ahead.
Now, with that, I when Mary first started talking, I was like, "Sis, what the hell is you talking about? Like, what you doing?" She was like, "No, I don't like black men. I like white men." And I'm sitting there confused. Like, you got a black son and a black husband, and you
I
black,
was
and you got black
confused.
people at your church. What the hell is you talking about? And then she kind of went on to like, meaning the shades or the tones or whatever your hue is kind of her preference. But I wish that she would have kind of thought about, because some of these questions, these housewives should know these questions are going to come up. Like, she should have been known, especially with the current state of affairs that we are in right now, that coming out that she said about the
Yeah.
black men at the convenience store, she should have known that was going to come up. She should have prepped some type of whether it was
Yeah.
a rehearsed answer. Should have written something down so that she knew how she was going to handle that question, because she started talking and sis got that damn shovel and she was going and she kept
Baby,
going. And I was like,
and them
Mary, what the hell is you doing?
eyes just
Shut the
kept
hell up.
shuffling and that little head. I was just like,
She was like,
she
yeah,
had lost me. I looked at my dog. My dog looked at me. We both was confused. I'm like,
yeah.
Because
Mary
one, the
with
question didn't
bullshit.
even ask about her preference. The question, Andy didn't bring up her preference. She went there on her own. I'm like, girl, how does that pertain to men in front of a convenience store? Why are we now at your preference? Like, how did
Well,
we get here? Stop talking.
Andy did ask something
Andy,
about, like, are you attracted to? I forgot how it came or how he
I forgot
specifically
to.
worded it, but he did ask something about, are you attracted to black men or something like that? He asked her, and she kind of
Yeah,
started going down this rabbit
See,
hole.
I
I
don't
must
really
have missed
remember.
that because I'm
So
watching
he
her talking. I'm
asked.
like, girl, please stop talking.
So he said. So basically, how the black thing came about was when he was like, "You don't want to go to the store," and she was like, She was like, I'm scared of something. He was
Hmm.
like, a black man. And I think from there, it just kind of went down into the rabbit hole.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember that
See,
part,
I
but yeah.
was a little upset that he didn't, that there wasn't more emphasis put on Jen making that part up, because she literally looked at Jen and said, "Jen, I never said that.
I
That is
agree.
not how I meant it." Meredith chimed in and said, "This is how I think it was." No, like, Jen, why would you frame it in that way? Andy
Yeah.
just, well, I mean, we all know Andy ain't down with any kind of racial sensitivity or any kind of self-awareness about race
Mm-hmm.
issues. He just
Say
took a
that.
time and he saw Mary gonna dig herself into some shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna
But
ask the question.
she did though. She took that shit that she was digging and she planted a nice little flower in a tree and she was able to like bring it back
Yeah.
in
At the
some kind of
end,
She
way
did. She brought
at
it
the
back and she
end.
was just
She
like,
did finally
Black is beautiful. I'm
black
black. My kids are black. And you know, I love all.
right.
It is a beautiful skin tone. I was like, "You better go, girl." I was like, "Okay, okay, let me get back on this train," because I was just like, "Girl, you say you don't like black
Yeah.
people. I'm
uh,
lost."
Yeah. Mary scared the shit out of me for like a few minutes. I was like, oh, stop talking, Mary. What the hell? Turn her mic off, please.
Right.
cut the
turn,
mic, dead
turn the
ass.
mic. Okay, so then, like I said, this had a lot to do with Mary, this part, because everything I feel like here was mostly about her. The next thing they talked about was the whole
Hmm.
Meredith and Lisa being scared of Jen,
Mm.
and it comes up that she didn't say those specific words. She just said it in the context of like how anybody would say like, "Oh, you scared of him," you know. But
They're
realistically, what she
scared.
was saying was they're feeling a certain kind of way and they're not expressing it to her, or they don't want to come to Jen because they're scared of her reaction or something like that. I don't know, but what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Because we talked about this, Jamie, too, and we were just like, okay, look, either Mary lying or they lying, somebody lying. So now that we got the answer, what you feel? Because I feel kind of like, dang, I feel like Snake Gate, like, oh, that's it.
That's it.
Well, I mean, I think that whenever we talked about it, I had mentioned that I think Mary probably was, it was an off comment like, well, they ain't gonna talk to her. They're scared of her, scared of the way that she gets.
Yeah,
And that's kind of how it was framed.
yeah.
Um, Whitney kind of knew that, but how, and she didn't say that they're scared of you, period. She kind of
Mm-hmm.
inferred that, well, they don't want to talk to you because they're scared of you. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was able to frame it like, well, technically, that is what Mary said. Whitney's not stupid. She knew what she was doing.
Correct.
God bless her. She knew Jen was going to blow up. I think that, in my opinion, after seeing that, it would have been nice for Lisa to acknowledge that, okay, Whitney wasn't lying, because Lisa was on the train of Whitney's lying. Whitney's lying. Whitney made that up out of thin air. Well, she didn't, like the footage shows,
Yeah.
but like that was just kind of glossed over.
Yeah.
But then they also didn't hold Mary to the feet to the fire, saying, "Well, why would you say that? Why would you say that we're scared when we're not?" Like that whole
Cause they
culmination of the
scared of
last five
Mary.
episodes
That's
went
what it is.
nowhere. Because
Cause they really scared of Mary. That's what they scared
they're
of.
scared of Mary. Plot
They
twist.
really scared of
Plot
Mary. And I
twist.
do think they was a little bit scared of Jen's
A
reaction as
bit.
well. So I feel like when
Yeah.
Mary was telling Whitney, I do feel like it was from Mary's point of view, or she
Hmm.
felt like, oh, they scared of Jen and they don't want to talk to Jen because of X, Y, and Z. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that is true.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like that's true.
Okay.
Hell, I'm scared of Jen.
I ain't scared of that hoe.
Listen, Jen will pull her ass right here, and I will, like Mary said, I will read her like a scripture.
Like a
So
scripture, like a coupon book, or whatever. Okay. So continuing down the Mary train. Now this is where Mary really touched me. Now I knew that they were
Yeah.
going to bring up all this Mary stuff only because when the show aired, like after episode 2, whenever she finally came on the episode and started to explain it, blogs were talking. Like people were talking. People
yeah,
were some of her family members or cousins. Somebody did interviews, and basically it came to where they said that basically that money was not left to her and that that was an issue within her family. So of course Andy is going to ask these questions. No one asked that question. Okay, he wrote that question
hmm
because he wanted to know. And before I get started, like I just want to say, what do you individually and quickly, like what do y'all think about Andy and his approach to Mary? Do you feel like he is too intrusive on black women, or do you feel like he is just doing his job? Because this kind of surfaced with Monique on Potomac,
Hmm.
and so I see the same comments for Mary. Like, what are y'all? Just what are your
Yeah.
thoughts, Antonio? And then what are yours, Jamie? You go first. Yeah.
I think with okay, I think it's a little bit of both. Yes, I think he is doing his job,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think that based on because I've pretty much watched all of the house, all of the franchises,
Yeah.
and the I've never seen him really go in. And there have been some rumors about some of the others on the all Caucasian cast, and I've never seen him go in and really dig
Mm-hmm.
into
Yeah.
some of those rumors or some of the storylines
Hmm.
that came up, like he has with people like Mary now, or
Okay.
like he has with Monique, or maybe a Nene or a Portia or something like that. I've never seen
Yeah.
him do it on any other cast, but I
Yeah.
think he's doing his job. But I feel like he needs to be unbiased and he needs to hold everyone to that same level of questioning that he does some of the main cast.
Okay.
I think he's doing his job, but just that's the state of journalism, and sometimes it's gross. Like literally, that Britney Spears documentary that just came out, people are on Diane Sawyer because she was asking these intrusive, very like personal questions, and there's old videos circulating of media personalities getting entirely too intrusive with some of these females. And I think Andy, yeah, he's doing his job. His job is to shock people and to get the tea, and we as viewers, we love it. I think that there's a respectful way to do that. At the end of the day, Mary is a Christian. She's a pastor. I'm not going to talk to somebody
Mm-hmm.
who is a pastor or a Christian the same way that I talk to any old person who's a non-believer. I
Yeah.
think there's a level of respect there that he has for the white ladies that he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
keep with the black women.
Okay.
You can ask Mary about the situation of her marriage without asking her if her and her husband fuck. That's what really got me.
Yeah.
Asking about, are you guys intimate? Do you have sex? That is one. There were rumors about Whitney and her husband being swingers. He
Yeah.
only asked, "Oh, are there swingers in Salt
In
Lake
Salt
City?"
Lake City.
And
Yeah.
it was a joke. He doesn't touch on that. That to me, as a watching that as a viewer, was really uncomfortable because you could see Mary was visibly uncomfortable
Yeah.
being asked
Yeah.
about what's going on in her vagina.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we all think that marriage is weird. We all think that whole setup. Girl, dive into the specifics. Dive into the family. Dive into about, well, your family is saying that you stole this. What's going on there? You don't got to ask like if her and that man is having sex.
I don't even
That's
understand how that was even relevant to what they were
at
speaking about,
all.
whether they have sex or
Well.
not. And
Okay.
it's going to be interesting to see if he holds Meredith to that same line
Yeah.
of questioning. Because to
With
Because
me,
her
that
yeah.
husband.
storyline with her husband was kind of interesting as well. So I'm waiting to see that in part three.
She
And
was dating whole other men and admitted to it. Like
Meredith.
that ain't been brought up yet.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm a straddle the fence a little bit here. Maybe a little controversial, but I so okay. I didn't see an issue with those questions because it wasn't. He did just come out and say, "Oh, are y'all having sex?" Mary said on the show that on their wedding night that she chose that I mean the wedding night she thank God she was on her period, and so it gave off as if
Yeah.
they ain't been intimate for how long. So I think it was a follow up to be like, well, kind of are y'all having sex now? And but the only thing that I felt my understanding of off limits is when he was asking about her past marriage because Mary even I think that's when she was very uncomfortable because she even said like that has nothing to do with Robert Senior or Senior Rob. What's his name, child?
Yeah.
Right.
Robert
So
Senior.
right, Robert
Big
Senior
Rob. That ain't
Rob.
got nothing to do with Big Rob.
And so I feel like that was the crossing the line. But the rest of the stuff, I mean, like you said, he's doing his job now to the same. And both of y'all, I agree, both of y'all with the same standard. And like I said, I can't wait to see how he goes in on Meredith, which we know he probably not. But I don't think what he asked her was inappropriate, Mary. I think it because honestly, Mary hasn't had much going on this season, and it's unfortunate that most of her storyline is stuff that was not on the show. In terms of her, you know,
Yeah.
she came out the gate with saying that, oh yeah, I married my grandfather, and so that's what made everybody watch the show for her, made everybody tune in for
Oh
her,
yeah.
and so realistically, that's what else is there to talk about? To be honest, that's just what it is. And so
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
I don't feel, completely like he just came at her. If he wasn't intrusive, it's on the show. The material is there. If he didn't ask it, there are plenty of other people out there talking about it on YouTube right now. So I think it's easily accessible to find now. So why not bring it to the platform and get it out to where she can clear the air? And I think she did a good job, especially what were you gonna say,
She
Antonio?
did.
She did a really good job, especially when she got to talking about her marriage. Like the first time I watched it, I was like, oh. And the second time, I kind of got a little teary eyed because I was just like, when she said like marriage is hard, it's a nightmare, but what we have is beautiful. Like I was just like, I want that
Yeah.
so bad, and I'm in a whole relationship. Not saying I ain't got it, but I want to get to that point to where I'm
Not you
like,
marrying your granddaddy too. You want to marry your granddaddy too?
Well,
I'm,
he her
I'm
step granddaddy. Ain't no it ain't incest and ain't no blood involved. I'm gonna tell y'all though
exactly.
See,
where I did laugh at when she was talking, when she was like, Robert Senior brought me all my
All this,
Chanel and
yes.
all my designer.
She's
I was
it
like,
was
yes.
at first I was confused because she was making it seem like he bought me these bags, so now I love him. That's what I was getting. But then she kind of
Yeah.
explained it more, and basically I feel like to any relationship, what she's saying is, regardless of the situation, regardless of what everybody say on the outside, it's what we have. If I'm in love, like she says, she's happy. And that's why the camera kept flashing to
Yeah.
Meredith's ass, because she know damn well she don't want her husband. And it kept flashing to Whitney, who they both left their previous husband and wives to be together. So, boom.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was a good moment.
look,
Like it was a gem. Like I was like
It
I felt it.
It was, but I have to commend Mary because even though she was only there for like a few episodes, she has,
Yeah,
I don't know if she was prepped somewhat on, hey, you need to kind of insert yourself wherever
yeah,
you can, or if you want to stick around for second season, you need to perform. I don't know if she was prepped to that or not, but
yeah.
she has made sure that she remained relevant in both
Oh, of
parts of
course.
the reunion. So that was
for
good
sure.
to see.
She,
Yeah.
like I said,
For
she
sure.
did not, or she was not, she was originally was not a full time cast member, and under one of the production companies, she did not really film a lot. That's why we saw her, but she didn't get those. I feel like they actually filled in a lot of scenes like by herself at home. Were done forever ago. They wanted to keep her in the episode, so they threw it in there like this is happening while they're here, while they're in Vegas. Realistically, this probably they probably weren't even in Vegas. You know, I'm sorry,
Gotcha.
they probably
Yeah.
was somewhere
Yeah.
else. So they filled her in, and she's a great asset. Like I would love to see her back. And now I feel like
Yeah.
next season
Absolutely.
to talk about this marriage, it's like it's dead now. There's nothing really to bring up. It's not even an insult at this point. She's cleared the air.
Yeah.
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 And not to mention they've been married for 22 plus years. So I
Right. This like
mean,
Okay.
right at this point.
Longer than anybody else on there.
yeah.
Longer
Right.
than anybody else on there. So what do y'all got to say? Y'all on the verge of divorce.
Right.
We 22 years strong. It's Mary. She's messy. She's delusional. She lives in very much her own little world. She's entertaining as hell. I was telling this to somebody, like all of her little barbs and her little shade and stuff. I genuinely feel Mary. Mary is kind of the opposite side of the coin of Jen. They're both narcissists. They're both so self-involved that they really don't see beyond like their own little perimeter. But Mary just carries herself so much better. I guess she has a little bit more of a positive light. Now, if people in her life feel that way, I don't know. But Mary is fun.
Yeah.
Mary is light. Mary comes on screen and you're just like, girl, what fucked up dumb thing? She very much Kim Richards to me. She opens her mouth and you have no idea what the hell she's talking about half the time.
I can see
We
that.
need
I can see that.
we need that lightness. We need that fun in there. And then that mouth is lethal when it needs to be.
Yeah, very
Because
kooky. You like had Mary,
absolutely.
hit the bottle. Did she do a little coke or whatever the
No,
case may
not
be?
with the coke
Okay.
shit.
Because every time,
That oxygen mask.
and I'm glad you said I never thought about that, but yeah, Mary and I can see the comparison between Mary and Kim Richards.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We all need comedic relief, no matter what. Because if it was
Yeah.
all Jen Shaw fighting with people, that would be it. It kind
Oh.
of reminds me of that season of Atlanta when it was just dark. When Nene was fighting with everybody on the cast, it was very heavy, very dark. That gets to be a lot to see. Like no one wants to see 22 episodes
Potomac was
of
dark.
women
This
just
last
fighting
season was
and
dark, in
hating
my
each other.
opinion. It was. It's not even. It's not even. It's not even a fun
Yeah.
show
Oh, yeah,
anymore.
absolutely.
Like it's not even. I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to next season for just Potomac, but the way they ended, it's like they're not
baby,
they used
it's a lot. You're drained.
casts are a lot better when they're friends and there's a friendship. They're gonna be beefs and drama,
I
but
agree.
when people genuinely don't want to film, genuinely hate, it's not a good show. We don't That's not what we want to see. We
It,
want to see this, but like
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that Jen and Mary are gonna try to work it out. I don't really care to see that, but now seeing other issues happen within the group, it's okay for them to be friends now because now we got Lisa and Heather who going back and forth. That's actually our next topic because we're gonna end out with them two because that's where these two. That's who has been. Jen and Mary. That was a thing. Meredith and Jen. Okay, Whitney and Jen. Lisa and Heather. Okay, them two. That's gonna be next season. It's gonna pick up really good because of that. We find
Yeah, I
out
agree.
that
Yep.
Lisa actually recommended Heather for the show, which is I
I
was
know.
That
like,
was the gag.
right. I
That
was
was the
like,
gag.
oh, like that was
Because
a
I was
I
like, you
was
got to know
like,
her in some kind
you
of way
gotta
to
know
say
her.
this
well. That's
person
what
would
she was
be good
saying,
for the show.
but I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I just get confused because yes, you're right. You gotta know her to get on there, but at the same time, like, why doesn't Lisa really want to say that she knows her? It's like Phaedra and Nene on steroids. It's worse, actually. It's worse. Season three, Phaedra and Nene, what it
Yeah.
was? It's
Yeah.
worse. Like she don't want to acknowledge that she knows her at all, and that just bothers Heather. Her love life was brought up
Oh,
too.
it bothers her so much.
Yeah, it does.
It. I want to know which brother Lisa is older than of Heather's. That's all I want to know. Did she go to school with one of the brothers? Like, what's going on? Because there is some connection there,
Yeah,
and it's beyond college.
yeah.
Like, it's not just we went to college together. There's something there.
But
There is
she
something going on there that I need explored.
Lisa explains why, like we talked about, why she doesn't really like Heather, and it's kind of to what we said earlier. She was like, "You can't be mousy and mouthy." I think what
Yeah.
she's saying is just like you want to be like this, but then you want to be like this, and so, but I think she does know her. I think she just doesn't really like who she's gotten to know, or maybe who she's become,
Yeah.
and it just that's just what it is. I think she does know her. Maybe not like know her like close like that, but she knows of her.
Right.
She knew Yvonne from
Yeah.
Clark from CAU. That's what it was.
And she was that bitch, okay? She
Right.
was that bitch.
That bitch. It's Joanna.
But yeah, I do
Yes.
think Cortez it's a situation where kind of like Nene and Phaedra, where it was kind of like I've seen this person before. I like know who that person is,
Mhm.
but I don't know that person to like call them my friend or
Yeah.
to say that I know them personally.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Okay. And then you have anything to add to it, Jamie? No.
No, I mean, you brought up Heather's relationship that was being, I thought that was a really interesting take. For as much as Heather can be infuriating sometimes, where she gives me Teddy Mellencamp, where she's just so earnest and so like the
Heather,
victim, and I need you to like me. Yes, I
she
need you to like
she
me, and
needs
please
a
let's
big
just talk
old
about it.
dose of self
A
love. I'm
hug.
sorry. I
She
feel
does.
so bad for her
She
because she's
does.
so
But
sweet, so nice, but her confidence is not there, and it's in relationships,
she's
it's,
Her
it's
getting
in
there.
confidence is
friendships, like
She's
everything.
yeah,
Like
getting
she
there.
needs validation from Lisa, from
somebody.
whoever,
Everywhere. And
and
that makes me sad because what kind of marriage did you have before?
oh, she explained it.
If
It was
your
it.
confidence is shot,
Yeah,
like, but it kind of teared me up a little bit when she legitimately said, like, this is how I was raised, and
yeah,
now I don't want that for my girls.
Yeah.
I want them to experiment. I want them to go out. I want them to have multiple partners. I want them to do whatever is going to make them happy, so they're not 40 years old struggling with the things that I'm struggling with, trying to find who the fuck I am at 40. Like,
Right. Because
Mary's face was a key, and I'm like,
Mary was
okay,
Mary was
Mary,
like,
like,
there ain't no gangbangs going on, but I
that's
get what
what.
you're saying. I
Correct.
understand.
Heather said,
I
listen,
understand.
Don't wait till you get in your mid-40s to be a hoe like me. Go be a hoe
Be a hoe
in your
today.
early 20s.
Be a hoe
Early
today.
20s
Go be a
today.
hoe.
We're not promised tomorrow. We're not promised tomorrow.
Right.
Heather said,
Tomorrow
go
is
be a
not
hoe now.
promised. Be a hoe
And
today.
then, yes, yes, indeed. Her tagline next season. Don't wait to be a
Be a
hoe.
hoe
Do it today.
today. Baby, she got Jasmine Sullivan on heavy rotation.
Ooh, not the Heather Tales.
She got, she said money makes me come.
The
Oh,
bad weather
I'm
tales.
dead. I am dead. So, it's to close out. The last bit was actually supposed to be a break, but it's Lisa decided to stay, and Heather and Meredith and Whitney, and they got into it again. This is where we really saw Lisa like really unravel. And she like blew up. I think what was that Heather had been doing it the whole 2 episodes, to where she was basically
Yeah.
insinuating that she had not been a good friend to Meredith. And so I think this was the
Yeah.
first time where she actually heard it. And then after the previous, all the banter and before, like, Lisa just flipped, you know what I'm saying? And like, honestly, this is where I kind of looked at Lisa as, for her, this is not reality TV, this is life. I think that you know how most people, we have these people who know the camera's rolling and they have a persona. I think she is as real as they come, and it's not because I like her, but it's because I can tell like she's genuinely like, why would you say these things about like my friend? Like, I don't I'm gonna say it's not true, but you can just tell like that's why she got so upset, because it's like even in the back when she was talking to production, she was like, she's saying this, she's saying this. It's like, why would you say that? Like, I basically was able to empathize with her, and I felt like that's how I know she's so real, regardless of how bitchy she is. But Heather, child, she was over there in her little
She said,
cheap
Heather
makeup.
said,
She was in her little makeup bag, child, and just that little cheap makeup bag she had her.
I told you, Heather knows in her mind,
Heather's
in
that
Heather's
girl.
mind now, she is the queen bee.
She that girl.
Was she sitting
I
next
love
She
to
it.
is.
Andy? I was very surprised that she was
She's
next
the
to,
doll.
her, because honestly, Heather, it wasn't really about Heather the whole season until the end. But
Yeah.
the fact that she's by Andy, she's definitely the queen bee, and she started off as like, I feel like most people's, she's like the underdog.
Background character.
Her and Whitney have
Yeah.
rose up, and the person
Yeah.
background is Meredith. I ain't gonna lie, I forgot she was there.
I forgot she was there.
Stop
I forgot
that.
she was there last night too. Meredith was sitting. Meredith said one sentence that I can well, two, where she said, "Don't talk about my kids," and then or something. Don't
Her
whatever
marriage.
Baby, she
her
had
marriage, and
disengaged.
then when she
That
when
was a
she
very weird thing to. She randomly brought that up. She was like, "If anybody talks about my marriage again, you're not my friend." I'm like, "Girl, that was last episode. Like,
right.
we good on it, baby. We good on
She
it."
had
But Meredith
disengaged
looked good. Her
permanently.
titties look real good though.
Well, very much. Her titties look good. My thing with that, while Lisa and Heather are going back and forth about whether or not Lisa's a good friend, baby, Meredith didn't say nothing. Meredith
Didn't
said,
say shit.
No, that's what I'm saying. I
Meredith
saw,
said,
at all.
Meredith said, "I'm disengaging." You know that's her favorite word. I'm
baby,
disengaging.
baby,
It's-
she disengaged
and I
all the
think-
way. She leaned all the way
Yeah.
out. Was like, look, she said, I ain't in it.
Mary was stressed. Mary's stressed out in the corner. Fucking Whitney's just standing there looking at Lisa. Lisa screaming. And honestly, I think a lot of that comes from guilt. I think Lisa does understand that a lot of what she said and done, she could have gone at Jen a little bit harder. Because what do they say? Hit dogs holler. Baby, if someone told me you're not a good
Yeah.
friend to your friend, all I'd have to do is look at my friend and be like, girl,
Why is she saying this?
You hear this?
we know what we're doing. We know what
Yeah.
But, baby, she got up out that chair and
Well,
stood up.
it depends
and
on
was
who
pointing.
says it. It depends on who says it. Somebody says, but I like some people, I'm not going to entertain, because it's like, but in this situation where she is friends with somebody that I'm at odds against, and I'll be like, okay, then like, what's, this the question. You ain't got to go into, Jen mode. You just got to question and be like, well, what's
Yeah.
she talking about? And I didn't see anything wrong
What's
with that.
your problem?
Right.
If my friend doesn't have a problem with what I did, why do you have a problem with what I did? And it was
Exactly.
interesting that she called Heather. Didn't she call Heather out, or am I making this completely up? I was 2 bottles of wine in. She said you are so thirsty to be part of this group, or so thirsty to be friends or something. Like, didn't she bring that up?
Who said that?
You want to be Meredith's friend so bad or something?
Who?
Lisa didn't, or was that Jen? Did I
Um,
make that up?
I don't recall.
Did
I
I
know that
wish
she.
that happened?
I know that she
Am I
said that.
creating?
She said they. What she said, like I think they were asking her about like being Heather being friends with Lisa. That's what it was, and that's when Heather was like, I
Okay.
thought she was gonna say no, but she was just like, I don't want to be enemies with anybody. I think she
Be
cleared it
her
up like that.
enemy. Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought she
Okay.
was gonna be
Okay.
like, no, I don't want
See,
to be friends with that hoe. Because I mean,
I
the
thought she
energy.
was
baby.
going with a no
Heather
too.
was, but Heather was
Okay.
giving energy like that. She was giving like I'm not gonna read her book. Like you're not a fun person. But then she would turn around and be like, oh, like yeah, I'm not completely shutting on the idea of being her friend one day. It was kind of conflicting. Like Heather, I actually because
Yeah.
Lisa was saying that Heather was being mean and it wasn't that she's being mean. It's just unfortunate that it took her all these years and time to find her voice, just like Cynthia. They call her Sensei. But
Yeah.
it's just like after people like people like them too, they they get to a point to where they're tired and unfortunately they just come out, they unravel in terms of
Yeah.
it come out to everybody else as mean because they were so nice. But realistically, she ain't being mean. She decided being run over. And
And she just being
unfortunately,
herself now.
she's
So yeah.
now being right herself or her new self or whoever. But Lisa, I thought she was
Yeah.
gonna hit her. I was like, child, hey, y'all letting this girl get
She,
up go over here? I was scared.
When she got up and
Lisa
clunked
was.
around that damn
Them
table
clunky
with
ass
them
Oh
heels.
my
chunky
God.
heels
Them
on
chunky shoes,
and them
baby.
that dress,
That greasing dress. She
Ooh,
said, "Why are
she
you,
was. She was just like, and she went to the back. I
she
felt
was
so
baby?"
bad.
mad.
So do you think she coming back next week? You think she really gone?
No,
I think she's coming
I
back.
think she's coming back. She's coming
Yeah.
back. She's a New Yorker. She may be pissed off, she may be upset, but she still has shit that she wants to say.
Yeah.
My
She's
thing,
definitely coming
I
back.
love Lisa's personality. When Andy said, "Okay, we're moving on," and Lisa said, "No,
She
we're
said,
not
no, we're
moving
No, we're
on,"
not.
not.
I said, "There we go."
I said, wait a minute. Lisa calling damn
Yes, ma'am.
shot at the
Andy,
union.
Baby.
Andy said, "Oh, I'm like Lisa. I'm sorry, Lisa on part
Oh,
one
I
and part
love
two.
it.
That's who on the reunion. I don't care.
I
Okay.
agree, Cortez.
Look,
I can't.
this,
Heather was
I am
there.
saying I'm eating crow.
Lisa came ready.
Look,
Now, what she
but
was
you know
not
what?
ready for.
Without Heather, Lisa wouldn't have gone there. Without Heather, Lisa wouldn't have gone there.
You
I
got
feel
married
like
too.
they're going to be foils. They're going to be button
Oh
heads.
yeah.
I feel like they'll get to a place of like it's very much Antonio. Do like you watch New York, so it's very much Luann and Ramona. They nasty
Yeah.
nice with each other. We know they can't stand each other, and
Mm-hmm.
they shade each other relentlessly all season. But they're girlfriends.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
can
think
see that.
so.
It's gonna be very much that they're gonna get to a place
I
where they
think
can be in the same room, but they're never gonna like each other at all. At
they
all.
definitely. I don't think
It's
they're
not
ever
that
gonna
they gonna
like each other.
dislike
I
each other.
think
They
that they'll
just
be
don't.
cordial.
Right. Right. They'll never be
It's
I
friends.
think
oil
they'll be
and water.
cordial, but next season it is gonna be
Them two.
Lisa and Heather. That's to me gonna be, but I'm hoping that they bring everybody back. I really want to see Mary
Absolutely.
film more, and I really want to see Mary
Yeah.
come out of
Hmm.
her,
Yeah.
this shell she got
She needs
Yeah.
a
just a little bit
friend.
more because I know that she can. We know that she can bring it, but I want
Yeah.
to see her actually bring it on, the screen. So yeah, I want to see
Well,
her have kind of like a Heather or Whitney moment or something like
let
that.
me say this. Like I think that she is not confrontational. Mary's not, and I feel like just like Meredith, they both damn near disengaged. Mary just has a slicker mouth, but in terms of all that arguing, like the moments that Jen give you, Mary's not going to go with that. So if anybody's looking for that
Yeah, I
moment,
think that.
she is not going to. She's going to remove herself from it, and that is going to hurt her a little bit because you gotta find a way to get involved. Otherwise you'd be a friend of the show.
Yeah,
You gotta either be messy,
yeah.
you gotta be
Yeah.
a little combative, or you gotta have some good ass storyline going on outside of the girls. And Mary, realistically, she gotta get into be more combative or be messy. Cause yeah,
No, I agree with that. I don't want to see her be like yelling because I don't think she do that. But we
I
see
know.
that although she's not confrontational,
She
we've
can
seen her
read
not back down from confrontation too. Like when her and Jen were going back and forth at that table, and she
at
told
that
Jen,
table.
"What you gonna do? Whip my butt?" Normally in
Yep.
Atlanta they would have like, "Bitch, what you gonna do? Whoop my ass?" But Mary was like, "You gonna whip
she
my
did say
butt?"
you gonna
She
whip my
So,
saved.
butt.
She saved. She's saved.
so
Yeah.
we know that she can bring it. We know that she will be confrontational if needed, but I
Yeah.
just want her around more because I want to really
Yeah.
see the Mary that we are getting. I want to see more of that kooky, delusional, just kind
Yeah.
of out there,
Yeah.
spaced out Mary. And also another thing, I'm glad that she went and found her pretty good glam team. Her wig to me looks good.
Mm-hmm.
It was they
Mm-hmm.
bumped it right on the ends. She had a little face beat, so I think Mary. I
She's
was like, okay,
good.
Mary. And then her makeup artist came out and she had like burgundy hair. I
I
was like,
saw
yes, Mary,
that.
you
I
do like
saw
black
that. I
people.
said, "You got your." I said, "Come on, black stylist, a black makeup artist with this red hair." Her hair wasn't done, but yeah, I saw that. She had like the whole little COVID bodysuit on. Yeah.
She did.
Yep.
She had on her PPE.
Okay.
I
Well,
hate you.
well, at this point, I think we have covered everything. Part three is next week,
Oh.
and we're gonna recap this again. I believe the same two individuals and someone else too to be a panel of four. But until then, we're about to lead out. Obviously, you can find Jamie and Antonio. Come on, everybody, leaning out to the side. You can find Jamie and Antonio on social media. You can see their Instagrams on here. Anything? Any last words before we get out of here, Antonio or Jamie? No.
Well, first, thank you for inviting me on your platform to talk about, because we know we've talked about Housewives
All
so
these damn
much over the
shows.
past years. So, so thank you for inviting me on your platform, and I'm proud of you, and I just can't wait to see what you do next and
Oh.
how far you go with this. So keep it up.
Thank you so much, Heather. I'm
Jen,
okay.
you so nasty and so rude.
We got to lean out. We'll talk to y'all later. All right. Bye.